Well, we've been around a long time, just talking about each other.
Hi! Good golly Moses, that does go back, doesn't it?
How are you? How are you doing? All right. I'm going back.
I think we were actually, what, fresh 8th graders or so when Dr. Henry first came here, so we've known him for a long time.
I don't know, the best 3 years of my life was in 8th grade, so.
We are just thankful and thankful to you to know that this is going on and the good old stories that we can just talk about and tell here this day. And my audience who's here tonight, I want you to know that we welcome you and we're so happy that you have come to us with this table of legacies around me. I think you should have made a contribution in this community, but you don't know that you're doing this. Citizens see it.
You know, to have a school named after you lasts a long time, and so that's pretty, I'm proud of that.
I feel like I'm a native of Plano, really.
I do too.
Because there were 241 people when we left Prosper, and it was not much bigger in Plano. And we were all Collin County, so they thought I was special being a native Collin County person.
My grandmother, she was born in 1900 out east of Plano, and her parents and aunts and uncles and all had to go to private schools. And so she always felt real blessed for being able to be part of the Plano School District.
Loved it as a little country community. I loved the people. They were there to help you when you needed it. They made life seem really significant.
If you went out in the country, you were at the corner of Alma and Park Boulevard. That's where you went out after school if you were going to have a fight. And some of those girls were really good. I have been so blessed to be raised in Texas and in this town. And of course the school system is the integral part of it. The attitude of the Plano school system and the teachers starting in first grade, if you can grab a kid in the first grade, you're going to have him for the rest of his life. I had a plethora of teachers who took an interest in every one of their students, and they mentored, they were honest, they wanted to be there, and they were teachers. And there's no higher profession.
It's based a lot on just the standards that were set previous generations before me and still to be carrying it on.
I grew up in Plano. My father was superintendent of schools here for about 47 years. School was right across the street from where I lived. I graduated in 1949. My wife's a member of that class. Here is a picture very young and then as a senior. My dad was so interested in having Plano reinstated in science that he took off the first period every day. He taught chemistry one year and physics the next. He really had a major influence on my brother and I because both of us wound up in education. And he made a decision. He said, "I'll never leave Plano." And he stayed here until he retired. He tried to place a heavy emphasis on academics. He enjoyed athletics a great deal. Tommy Kimbrough, yeah. He was the coach at Plano then, and I was principal at Highland Park High School. Father and son divided over this, and the game was played in Texas Stadium. There were 50,000 people there, and Plano was behind 28-0. They came back and won the game 29-28.
Expectations is the legacy that stayed with me. And this thing that Dr. Hendrick had for all the students. He wanted them to be successful in everything they did. He certainly wanted us to be successful in athletics, and he let me know that. We had some pretty good teams going, but one year we've graduated a lot of players, and so I thought I'd better prepare Dr. Hendrick a little bit, and I said, Dr. Hendrick, we might not be quite as good this year. We lost a lot of players, and I just want you to remember that every Saturday morning you look at the paper that half the teams have won and half the teams have lost. And he said, John, that'll be just fine if you remember which half we want to be in.
Football did good things for Plano. And it's hard for me to take that we haven't won a state contest since Tommy and John left. And I think I'm going to run for the school board myself.
I graduated from Plano High School in 1965. Great group of kids. We were the largest group that had come through. There were 95 of us, which by class sizes today, that's not very large, but at that time it was large. First growth spurt, I think, actually started occurring in maybe the early 60s. TI was building their first facility, and there was a huge influx then. It's just grown and grown and grown, and just the blossoming of all the schools. It's really amazing.
I started teaching in Plano School in 1952, and Mr. Sigler and I would always go down to Douglas Elementary because he thought that was real special for us to go down there. And one of my favorite places to go, because the homemaking teacher down there was a friend of mine, Tracy Wortham, and we would always go down to their fashion shows, and they'd come up to ours. We had a real close relationship. And when we integrated, she and I both grabbed each other around the neck and said, aren't we glad to be together now? And it was a special time for all of us.
We all knew each other. We played with each other. I hated segregation because of the show we had. The blacks had to sit upstairs and the whites downstairs, and if you've ever been hit from a balcony with a milk dud,
I've grown up to realize how important, how wonderful this school district has been. The community has been to me and my family. And as a young student, I took it for granted that this happened everywhere, that it was a seamless transition, you know, as we went through integration, because you guys made it seamless. The community made it seamless. We just knew that we were integrating and it would be great, things would be fine, and it was. Until I arrived in college and I saw other kids, African-American kids, who I communicated with, and they talked about all the strife, all the difficult times and the prejudice that they were forced to live with.
Those were tough days. Eisenhower had just sent the troops to Little Rock. We were trying to make plans for integration. We knew it was coming. We worked it out with the two principals of the principal of the Douglas School and T.H. Williams. T.H. was a real good ally during those days too. Ben Thomas was a rather active member of the Douglas community. I liked the Thomases very much. Ben said, let's see if we can't work out something with peace.
we were fortunate to have two coaches, Coach Kimbrough and Coach Clark, who are both colorblind. And not only that, but they were mentors.
I think the key to it all was the people that we had. And it was seamless when I got here. It was just rolling and accepted. And people knew that it was the right thing.
And I hear these names, the Thomases and and Williams and Drakes and Stinsons and on down the list of what just the community really wanted their kids to do well, to do better than they had done.
I just remember getting off the bus at the back of the parking lot, and it's like, this is the way it ought to be. And I have a vivid memory of walking into school that day with lots of people I hadn't seen before because they were in town and we only knew the people in the country if they weren't on the bus. But I just felt like this is the way it's supposed to be.
We have known Dr. Hendrick as our great superintendent. Had you been in Dr. Hendrick's shoes from the stories he's told me in the past, I'd have my bag packed and my shoes. I wouldn't even put my shoes on. I would have been out of town. Well, the job he did during those days is remarkable. The job that Ben Thomas did during those days is remarkable. The job that Bill Williams did during those days is remarkable. The job that John Hightower did during those days is remarkable. Dr. Hendrick, to you and all that you went through during that time, this community is truly grateful.
It'll work. It'll work. Not one blemish that first year at all. The kids both back and what accepted each other, and you'd have thought that it never existed in the first place.
Plano School District was very instrumental in entering that kind of attitude on the part of its students, wanting them to excel, wanting them to do their best in everything.
Our street out Billthorpe Avenue in was the last street in Plano. Back then in 55,
Right.
People say, what are you building way out in the country for? Wouldn't they laugh about that now?